Waheguਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, Waheguਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. My name is Gurnam Singh, and as many of you may know, I was with Yogi Bhajan and in his cult for some 30 years. So I'm very familiar with the history of his Dara and a lot of what went on there. Now, you can see here this photograph from the 1980s, a group photograph with Yogi Bhajan, some of his followers. I'm pictured here on the right-hand side with this blue arrow above my head. Now, in today's video, I want to discuss a recent television show that was presented by the Akal channel here in the UK. They're out of Birmingham, I believe. And in that show, they presented a discussion about cults in Sikhi. And a Gurnam Singh is the host who led the discussion of this cults in Sikhi. And specifically, the discussion was around the Yogi Bhajan cult. Now, Gurnam Singh knew that I had been part of this cult for many, many years, and he called me, and I presented a short statement on the TV channel, on this TV show. And I wish I would have been able to actually go there to the studio, but was not able to. It was a very short statement, and I really don't think he gave me much time to talk about some of the abuses and the violations of secret Maryada that went on there in the Dara and that still are going on there. So I want to clear up a lot of misconceptions that Gurnam Singh has about this Yogi Bhajan Dara, and how many Sikhs have many misconceptions about this Dara and how these people that are part of Yogi Bhajan's group present themselves. Now, many of you may have seen that there is this new report out, an olive branch report that investigates the accounts of sexual abuse and abuse by Yogi Bhajan on his students. There are hundreds of Yogi Bhajan's students who came out and gave accounts to this olive branch investigative agency, and then they published this report. Now, I also participated in this and gave some accounts of abuse that I witnessed, some physical abuse that Yogi Bhajan did against students. So I know that this was a legitimate investigation, and if you want to see the full report of the investigation, I'll put a link to it in the description to this video. But basically, it's very compelling, these accounts. And you can see here just a brief outline of some of the accounts that were given. So it's really been a shock to this whole Yogi Bhajan community. And so Gurnam Singh presented a little bit about this, but I was really disappointed in how much of a pass, if you will, that Gurnam Singh gave in this television show to the many violations of the secret Maryada that are still ongoing there, and how the Yogi Bhajan followers, how they present themselves as Sikhs, but they are really not. From my experience, I observed that Yogi Bhajan taught many Hindu practices and did not follow the Sikh Retmiyata. Like I said, I'm very disappointed in Gurnam Singh. He's the host of this show, and he clearly has not taken the time to research the many violations of the Sikh Retmiyata by Yogi Bhajan. SRM violations and Hindu Vata practices, which continue to this day by Yogi Bhajan disciples. Consequently, Gurnam Singh in this TV talk show on cults and Sikhi gives Yogi Bhajan and his enablers a pass, brushing over the horrible sexual abuses, not even discussing the financial abuses and criminal business enterprises of a man who was only after power, money, and sex. That's the way I view this. Now, journalist Harbhajan Singh, aka HB Singh, from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, who joined the show as a guest speaker, he must be given credit when he spoke out against Yogi Bhajan and his disciples, saying the Bhajan enterprise leaders make all their members give a loyalty oath to Yogi Bhajan and agree to follow the Sikh religion and Yogi Bhajan's tantric and kundalini yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan. So Yogi Bhajan's followers have given an oath to Yogi Bhajan to follow the Sikh religion as taught by Yogi Bhajan. In a video many years ago, I published the actual agreement, if you will, that was filed in a court proceeding where all of these Yogi Bhajan followers, SikhNet and all these organizations that are part of the Yogi Bhajan empire, signed on to an agreement that where they said they would follow the Sikh religion only as taught by Yogi Bhajan. And this is completely against Sikhi. So this Harbhajan Singh from Kuala Lumpur was brave enough to, in this television show, he was interviewed there. He brought this exact point up. Now, this is the very definition of a cult in Sikhi, where these Yogi Bhajan followers have signed on to follow the Sikh religion only taught by Yogi Bhajan. Now, I'll post a link to this really well-written article by Harbhajan Singh in the description to this video. The show also did not discuss what should happen to the Bhajan disciples who are still alive that facilitated and enabled Yogi Bhajan in the abuse of his students. I was really actually shocked at how Gurnam Singh praised Guruka Singh of SikhNet when Guruka keeps Yogi Bhajan's filthy fingernails in his Gutka Sahib Nitnam. And I'll go through that in this video here. So let's just review the statements that were made in this television show, and we'll just discuss them.
Because, you know, I still want to say that part of our program today is not to actually to criticize the community. You know, we've identified, you know, which are, again, they're documented allegations against somebody who's not with us. So, you know, he's not here to defend himself. And really it's about moving forward, isn't it? About, you know, what kind of practical ways can Gurdwaras engage? Should we be doing outreach work? I mean, where do we go from here?
All right. I was very disappointed in how Gurnam Singh handled this. First of all, we should be criticizing the Yogi Bhajan cult and Dara. They continue these un-Sikh-like practices. You can see here how some of these followers bow and worship these idols of Baba Siri Chand, which are placed around the Gurdwara at the entrances to the Gurdwara in Espanola, New Mexico, where the headquarters are of this Yogi Bhajan cult and Dera. Nothing has changed in the past 40 years. These violations of secret Maryada continue to go on. And I really don't think that Gurnam Singh or many of the, we'll call traditional Sikhs understand or realize just how grievous these violations of the secret Maryada are that go on there. Now, I want to address another statement that Gurnam Singh made in this television show that he said where Yogi Bhajan is not here to defend himself. Well, Yogi Bhajan has many defenders. In fact, people like this Gurfata Singh, Ankar, Livtar Singh are hardcore Yogi Bhajan followers. They refuse to acknowledge this olive branch report that shows conclusively there were many abuses by Yogi Bhajan, that he was a sexual predator and that he abused his students. They refuse to acknowledge it and say that all these people who gave these accounts, these hundreds of people who gave these accounts, are just lying. I know for a fact that these accounts seem to be very right on. And like I said, I witnessed some of these abuses by Yogi Bhajan. And what I realized in 2009 is that Yogi Bhajan was really twisting the Sikh religion and twisting it to fit his Kundalini and tantric yoga. I read a great book by Dr. Gurnam Singh called Sikhism and Tantric Yoga, which was a critical look at Yogi Bhajan's tantric and Kundalini yoga in light of Sikhi. And I'll put a link to that book in the description to this video so you can all read that. I highly recommend it. So again, we need to be critical of this group. That's really the only way that they're going to change. I propose that we bring traditional Sikhs to Espanola, New Mexico, Panj Pyare, and we have hearings there and bring some of these people like Gurukha Singh, some of these people who are engaged in these violations of the secret Maryada, and bring them and depose them before this Panj Pyare and have them answered. Summon them to this Panj Pyare and have them answer to the Panj Pyare for these violations of the secret Maryada. I think a lot of times what happens is that in the traditional Sikh community, they overlook these grievous violations of the secret Maryada because these people are white, they're Westerners, and they want to have these Westerners in their portfolio, if you will, of people that have become Sikhs. And we can't just keep ignoring the fact that these Yogi Bhajan people are in violation of the secret Maryada, and they continue to do that. So here is the book, Sikhism and Tantric Yoga, by Dr. Gurnam Singh, which was written in 1977. And again, I'll put a link to this book where you can download it for free at my website, gurmukyoga.com. And I encourage everyone to read this book. It's very, very good. It gives a really good history of it. Dr. Gurnam Singh spent months with Yogi Bhajan, and he has some very insightful descriptions of how Yogi Bhajan twisted this religion and how he used it for his own ends, for his own power, money, and sex.
End of the day, there are thousands and thousands of good Sikhs who are part of that community.
All right, we just saw there Gurnam Singh making another false statement. I don't know if he's doing it purposely. I don't think so. But the fact is that there are not thousands and thousands of Sikhs there in the Yogi Bhajan Dera. There might be a few hundred who follow SRM, but I don't even think there's that. From what I can tell, myself and maybe a handful of people at the group continue to be Sikhs and follow SRM. Most of them all follow Yogi Bhajan's twisted form of Sikhi, which involves doing this Aquarian sadhana, which has in it a Hindu mantra, and then most do not wear kipans. There are many violations that continue even to this day.
Sikhs who are part of that community.
So I have tried to bring up these different violations of a Sikh Ramayana by trying to join these new groups that 3HO has started. They called it the listening tour, but they immediately censor and block me. So you can see here this woman, Pritpal Kaur is her name here, and she has her back there at the City Guru Granth Sahib. She's the CEO of 3HO, and I was in a group Zoom meeting trying to present this secret Marietta violations that I observed there, and they immediately cut me off and censored me. This happened to me 3 different times when I tried to join these groups. So they're clearly trying to suppress anybody who's critical. And I really think the way to handle this is to take an active role in bringing a Panch PRA to their headquarters, summoning these leaders to appear before the Panch PRA and confront them with these violations of the Sikh Maryada. I think that's the only way. I really don't think it's going to happen by just soft talk and discussion. These people are hardcore followers for the most part that I see of Yogi Bhajan, and it doesn't seem like they will change unless we really take an active role and, like I said, bring a public hearing with proper Panch PRA and summon them, depose them to come and testify and give their testimony there before the Panch PRA. This is another example of how callous, if you will, how these Yogi Bhajan hardcore followers have censored myself and other Sikhs who have tried to speak up in the past. This was in 2015. And Guru Kaur has many titles. I think she's the Secretary General or some kind of head there of their organization. And this was in 2015. They actually sent a letter out to all their Khalsa accounts. That's quite a group that is only made up of Yogi Bhajan followers. It's quite pretentious of them to say that they're a Khalsa council because it's only made up of Yogi Bhajan followers. And she says here, at our meetings, we will be addressing a number of serious matters which have arisen over the past few months. There has been an aggressive slander campaign aimed at damaging and discrediting the teachings and legacy of the Sri Singh Sabha and our organizations. This campaign, led by a former student of the Sri Singh Sabha, that's me, the former student. Sri Singh Sabha is the fake title that Yogi Bhajan gave himself. Probably many of you have heard of that. So that's what they call Yogi Bhajan. So this, as they say, this campaign, led by a former student, has escalated through the social media efforts. And this is what they discussed in 2015. They never contacted me to try to discuss these matters. I was trying to present Dr. Trilochan Singh's book to many there in the Sangat that I thought were my friends, but they completely rejected any kind of criticism of Yogi Bhajan. So when Gurnam Singh in this TV show says that we should go and talk to them, I really don't think that's going to work. I think the only way is to expose them, to name them, and bring them before Panch Pyari and make this all public. And if they won't appear before the Panch Pyari, then maybe we should consider just having excommunicated from the Khalsa Panth. I don't think it's good for people who are not wise or savvy to be exposed to and associate with these Yogi Bhajan people, because they'll influence them in negative ways. Here you can see some of the practices of tantric yoga, which are violations of the Sikh Maryada. And Yogi Bhajan, again, twisted the Sikh religion to fit his tantric and kundalini yoga. I don't need to tell you how just debauched all of these practices are. Okay, let's listen to more of what Gurnam Singh says here in this TV show.
We've got the situation just thrown Hegaya. And, you know, he had hundreds of thousands of followers. You know, in fact, there are, you know, these ashrams, Guru Ramdas ashrams, all across the world. There are Kundalini yogi teachers across the world who are using Gurbani, they are reciting Gurbani. Thoda ja bahta Sikhi de naal jude ne.
All right, so I want to make another observation there. How Gurnam Singh said that there's hundreds of thousands of people in these ashrams. That is just not true. There are maybe, like I said, a couple thousand who might consider themselves to be Sikhs and that follow the Kundalini yoga and everything, but Gurnam Singh just has a misconception about just how many of these people there are. They seem like a lot more because there's they're very intelligent as far as marketing, as far as their businesses go. But as you can see, as I've said before, there are many violations of the Sikh Maryada. Here you can see how they've made a murti of Yogi Bhajan there. This bronze murti here, and they've set it all up for worship. This is where Yogi Bhajan died here, at this dome, they call it here in Espanola. And you can see here where they're bowing and prostrating before this dome. This is completely against Sikhi. Guru Gobind Singh Ji told us not to worship idols or not to worship at the places of death, the people, the graves, not to worship the graves. Here they are doing that. So again, I think what it's really going to take is bring a Panch Pyari there to Espanola. And I have a house there that they can stay at, the Panch Pyari, and we can have hearings there where we can videotape that and make it available to the entire worldwide Sangat. We can show how these Yogi Bhajan followers are violating the Sikh Maryada, and they are going against Gurbani and against Gurmat practices. Again, here is more of the worshiping of this Baba Siri Chand. This is inside the Gurdwara there at the Yogi Bhajan Dera. And you can see how the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib is being placed in Prakash, and they're passing the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib under this tantric painting of Yogi Bhajan, which looms over the Darbar of Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib. And even though Yogi Bhajan has now been shown to be a sexual predator, an abuser, a complete fraud, the Yogi Bhajan people continue to have this painting there. Huge painting. It's about 10 feet tall inside the Gurdwara. It's not a small painting. And then there's other images of Yogi Bhajan inside the Gurdwara there. This all needs to change. It all needs to be taken down and dismantled. Here you can see another image of it, where that painting looms over the Gurdwara there. Now, these are all things that need to change for the people that are in the Yogi Bhajan Dera to be accepted into the Khalsa Panth. My opinion, they can never really be accepted into the Khalsa Panth unless they denounce Yogi Bhajan and his teachings. And I think there's really, again, this misconception among people like Gurnam Singh and other traditional Sikhs that there are thousands of Gur Sikhs that are part of this Yogi Bhajan Dera. It's just not the reality, because they don't follow the Sikh Maryada. They don't follow Gurbani. They're not following Gurmat practices. Here you can see a group of these Yogi Bhajan followers worshiping Yogi Bhajan's picture. And this was a meditation that Yogi Bhajan gave, where he instructed people to meditate on his tantric photo. And you can see it there. Again, this is explained in Dr. Srilochan Singh's book, and it's completely against the Sikh Maryada. Here you can see other examples of violations of the Sikh Maryada, where the Yogi Bhajan followers are doing yoga in the Darbar of Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib, have their back to Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib. And then you'll notice here, this woman is sitting on a sheepskin with Ekonkar engraved on it. She's sitting on top of it. These are all very disrespectful practices, and it needs to stop. In the same Gurdwara, I observed for some 16 years when I was living there in Espanola, how we, myself included, I didn't know at the time, but it was a violation of the Sikh Maryada where this Aquarian sadhana was being practiced there in Espanola, where there was a Hindu mantra as part of this Aquarian sadhana. And I have brought this topic up many, many times to people like Gurmeet Kaur, who publishes every day now. She runs a live stream Aquarian sadhana on Facebook. And I've pointed this out to her, that this Aquarian sadhana involves chanting a Hindu mantra. It's completely against Sikh practices, but they continue. They just ignore what I'm saying. Here you can see more of this tantric yoga that Yogi Bhajan taught. This touching of other people and having other partners of the opposite sex, where you're involved in touching and physical contact, is just against the Sikh Maryada. It's against normal moral practices, for that matter. And these are all practices that Yogi Bhajan people are involved in.
And I can give a good example, Guru Singh.
Yeah, we know.
I mean, you know, I've been listening to watching his videos. They've had a phenomenal impact on me.
He's amazing, yeah.
So there's lots of good that's come out of that community.
So Gurnam Singh here again in this interview talks about Guru Singh and praises him. And he's saying about how so much good has come out of that. I really refute that. I think that a lot of damage has been done by Guru Singh and these other Yogi Bhajan followers. This is an article that is just, it's almost unbelievable how Guru Singh has publicly declared here that he keeps Yogi Bhajan's fingernails in his Gutka Sahib next to Gurbani. It's just a complete sacrilege. It's beadbi and completely disrespectful to Gurbani, and shows that Guru Singh is a hardcore follower of Yogi Bhajan. And they've set Yogi Bhajan up as a cult leader. There's no question about it. So you can read this article yourselves. These are screenshots of this article. And I'll show you exactly where he says this, how use these Yogi Bhajan fingernails that Yogi Bhajan gave him. And he describes this here in this article. And he keeps them in a magic talisman, he said. So if you read here, he says here, then he, Yogi Bhajan, looked at me and extended the wrapped napkin to me, saying, "You want these, right?" I replied in the affirmative. That's Guru Singh talking. He smiled and said, "They will give you a lot of power and protect you." I took the folded napkin gratefully and thanked him. Later, then, I looked at the 10 perfect crescents. Each nail looked as though it had been trimmed with a laser beam. The cut edges were perfectly smooth and perfectly even, despite having been cut with a very dull toenail clipper. Amazing. I kept the nail clipping in the napkin and placed them in my nitnam. And that's a direct quote from Guru Singh, who is was the CEO of SikhNet. And evidently he's retired now. And he's a chief inspiration officer now at SikhNet. And this SikhNet, they say that they do all this good, but I think that there's a hidden agenda there. Their real agenda is to promote the tantric and kundalini yoga of Yogi Bhajan. That's their real hidden agenda, and to promote this cult around Yogi Bhajan. So when Gurnam Singh says that SikhNet has done a lot of good, I think that a lot of this where they publish the Gurbani is for show and to get donations. They get hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations from hardworking Sikhs. And really behind the scenes, they're doing things like this with collecting Yogi Bhajan's fingernails. The headquarters of SikhNet is right there at the Yogi Bhajan Dera, right where this huge tantric painting of Yogi Bhajan looms over the Gurdwara, right where these murtis of Baba Siri Chand are, right where these murtis of Yogi Bhajan are. So SikhNet is hand in glove working with these 3HO enterprises, these Yogi Bhajan tantric and Kundalini Yoga enterprises, which are there to promote and to preach about Yogi Bhajan and his teachings. These are all things that were not explained in the TV show that Gurnam Singh hosted. Here you can read about Gurumustuk Singh and his, here in the article it says he's the Chief Executive Officer of SikhNet. Now, there's also been a lot of criticism about how SikhNet has inspired and seemingly promoted this dancing to Gurbani. There was a video that was produced a few years ago by Gurumustuk, who is now the CEO of SikhNet, and Gurumustuk Singh, and they talk about how it's okay basically to dance to Gurbani, which is very disrespectful. I've posted this video and a commentary on it in my YouTube channel, so you can review that for the specifics of that. But basically, Gurumustuk and Gurumustuk promote this idea about dancing to Gurbani. And you can see the 3HO people dancing around. This is in the Darbar Sahib of the Darbar of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji at their summer solstice gathering, and they're wildly just dancing around. Some of these so-called Sikhs, as Gurnam has called them, are taking off their dastar and they're flinging their hair around and dancing wildly. This is completely against SRM and completely unacceptable. Now you can see more of this dancing around in the Darbar Sri Guru Granth Sahib. And I say in the Darbar Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji because just behind this door here that looks like a garage door, you can see, well, you can't see, but I know for a fact that behind this door that looks like a garage door, they're having an Akal pot going on. During their summer solstice gatherings there, the Yogi Bhajan people bring the Sri Guru Granth Sahib and place the Sri Guru Granth Sahib in Prakash inside this little building. And then outside, they're doing all kinds of these wild dancing programs. They're tantric yoga. They do all outside, just outside this garage door, which is a very thin plastic garage door. And I know for a fact, I've tried to read in the Akal pot during these events, and you cannot hear yourself when you're reciting the Gurbani, let alone hearing somebody else who's reciting the Gurbani inside during the Akal pot. So this is something that needs to change. And by the way, what happens is when they have a Diwan service, they just roll this garage door up. And so this serves as the Darbar of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji at their summer solstice gathering. That's in New Mexico as well. Now you can see here how Yogi Bhajan participated in these havans. These are against secret Maryada. This is a picture of him, I believe, from the late 70s up there at the estate, where Yogi Bhajan hosted this havan, or Hindu fire ceremony with this Swami. And so you can see Yogi Bhajan here. Then you can see how the Yogi Bhajan people take after their leader and master. This is Gurmukh. Here where I'm putting the arrow, and she has sponsored many groups to go to this Paramatma Kirtan ashram and participate in the Hindu fire ceremonies and the other Hindu pujas that are happening there. In fact, she hosted a wedding where this 3HO couple were clearly wearing a dastars and Sikh clothing. They had a completely Hindu wedding there, and this Swami here, they call him Swami Puja, and he's the head there of that Pramatni Kirtan ashram. He officiated this Hindu wedding, basically. So that's how Yogi Bhajan has done so much damage, by showing himself as an example to people like myself. I didn't know anything about the secret Maryada. Yogi Bhajan never mentioned it when I was part of the 3HO organization, not until 2009 or so, when I started reading Dr. Gurnam Singh's book, and I started to meet other Sikhs when I was in India, that I realized that there was a secret Maryada and that Yogi Bhajan was really deceiving us. I do want to mention that Gurnam Singh talks about how Yogi Bhajan is not around to defend himself. I know for a fact that Yogi Bhajan could have spoken and given his deposition in a lawsuit that was brought against him by Pamela Dyson. This was in the 1980s, 1986 to be specific. Yogi Bhajan was deposed 5 times. 5 different times there was a court order for Yogi Bhajan to appear at a deposition in this case. But each time he would get his Khalsa doctors, that's people like, I won't say any names, but there are people that are doctors in Yogi Bhajan's Dera, and they would give him excuses, medical excuses, so he didn't have to appear at these depositions. Yogi Bhajan never wanted to give his deposition in these cases, because I talked to the attorney who represented Pamela, and he told me, he said, Yogi Bhajan just refused to give his deposition, and every time he would get these excuses from his Khalsa doctors that he couldn't appear. He didn't want to give the truth and testify under the bright lights, as this Peter Gregorios, who is the attorney for Pamela, said. And so when Gurnam Singh said that in this TV show that Yogi Bhajan is not around to talk, to defend himself, I think Yogi Bhajan had plenty of opportunity to defend himself, but he refused to. He'd rather just check out and die than give his deposition.
SikhNet ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖੀਏ, SikhNet ਜੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਬਣਾਈ ਸੀਗੀ, ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਜੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਸੀ, it's a phenomenal resource.
Again, Gurnam Singh has, I think, given some misconceptions about what SikhNet is like. They see the apparent view that SikhNet is publishing a lot of Gurbani, and they have this media center, it's true, but I think really they need to get to the bottom of what SikhNet is really about and what their real agenda is. A parrot can speak, and they don't know what they're saying. They have no idea of the depth of anything they say. And so that's what I think is going on over there at SikhNet. They know that people like this Gurbani Media Center, and they know that it appeals to them. But as you can see here in this article that was published by SikhNet about Gurmukh, who's clearly engaged in all of these anti-Sikh practices, violations of secret Maryada, SikhNet published this article, and you can see their logo there. This was praising Gurmukh and her coming to Edmonton, Canada to teach there. And you can see her, this Gurmukh pictured with this Swami doing a Havan fire puja at this Pramatni Kirtan ashram. And again, SikhNet has been supportive of all the tantric and kundalini yoga practices. There's a picture of Gurumustuk and Gurnam Singh engaged in what they call a synergy meeting with the white tantric yoga people. So they work hand in glove with all of these people, and they go to all of the meetings having to do with these tantric and kundalini yoga 3HO events. And so let there be no doubt about it. There's a complete working relationship and cozy kind of relationship with the Yogi Bhajan Dara people and SikhNet. They work hand in glove together. Here is a picture from a video actually that was produced by Guruka and Gurumustuk. And I think the original name of the video was Why Do White Sikhs Worship Idols? And they eventually changed the article or the video name. But Gurnam Singh, again, he comes out in the video and basically says it's okay to worship idols when it's completely against Sikh Maryada. It's against what Guru Gobind Singh Ji told us, not to worship murtis, not to worship images of others. But Guruka twists and justifies these things. And it's a very bad influence on, especially on people that are new to Sikhi or young Sikhs who look up to these type of people and say, oh, they're great Sikhs, you know. But I think it's a very dangerous situation. And I think people like Gurnam Singh and these traditional Sikhs need to wake up and understand that we need to criticize this Yogi Bhajan Dara, and that we need to work actively to bringing a Panch Pyare there and making all of this public, how they violate the Sikh Maryada and how they are following in Yogi Bhajan's footsteps. Here's worshiping this golden murti of Baba Siri Chand, and you can see Guruka here. This woman here is now on the what they call the SSC board, or the Siri Singh Sabha Corporation board, which controls the entire Yogi Bhajan enterprise. And then you can see this idol of Baba Siri Chand here, this golden idol of Baba Siri Chand. And they're chanting and singing Gurbani there in front of this idol, and at Yogi Bhajan's death place, by the way, too. This is right there at the Yogi Bhajan's death place. And again, Guru Gobind Singh Ji told us not to worship at the graves of the dead. Here you can see Guruka, and then again, the red arrows point out this murti, this golden murti of Baba Siri Chand up there. And then Guruka Singh is here. Now I've copy and pasted a very good article. This was from the Sikh Free Press, which goes into depth about a lot of these violations of the Sikh Maryada and a lot of what I've talked about in this video. So what you can do is stop this video and then go through and read this article in depth. And it was the original title of the article was American Yogis Distort Sikh Scriptures. And it was written by a journalist, Anju Kaur, and it's very, very good. I would highly recommend everyone read this. It gives a lot of history about how Yogi Bhajan twisted the Sikh faith and the Sikh scriptures to fit his Kundalini and Tantric yoga. And it will really give Sikhs who have not had much exposure to the Yogi Bhajan Dara people, real insight into what is really going on there at SikhNet and these other Yogi Bhajan enterprises. The article brings up how Yogi Bhajan was almost excommunicated by the Akal Tucket Jethadar. This was back in the 1970s. And coincidentally, just before the Jethadar excommunicated Yogi Bhajan and his cult, this Jethadar was removed from office. So Yogi Bhajan had a lot of connections, and I think that now, though, because he has been shown to be a sexual predator and many accounts of abuse are coming out about how Yogi Bhajan abused his students, all these truths, all these things are coming out. And it's just a matter of time now before all these things will be exposed. All these violations of the Sikh Maryada, the anti-Gurmat practices are exposed. This article gives a lot of really good information, really valuable information. So write me. You may comment on this video, and please send me any of your comments, any ideas, if you will, about how we can get this information out to others, and how we can bring a Punch PRA there to Espanola, New Mexico, or any of the other 3HO headquarters. I'd like to really see these people who are in the leadership positions there in 3HO be summoned before a Punch PRA. I think that's really the only way that we can change this organization, how we can change and have the people that were part of this Yogi Bhajan group come into the Khalsa Panth. Otherwise, it's just going to be more misconception about what is really going on there. And this all needs to be made public as well. So I'll let you read through this article, and I thank you for your time. And again, write me on YouTube or on Facebook. I've got a lot of information there as well. I have a book, Confessions of an American Sikh, which is available on Amazon. And you may also write me. I'll send you a PDF copy of it if you wish. And hope to hear from you. Thank you for your time. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.